Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. We're going to take a quick look at Bitcoin. And first of all, I want to apologize for being unavailable for the last 48 hours. Had some roof work done in the house and it was a lot of noise and very, very distracting. So I appreciate your patience here. And we're going to go ahead and take a look, of course, at Bitcoin, a little deeper dive and see what's going on here. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about perspective over the weekend and or next week, kind of see what's going on. But just want to preface, if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love teaching people how to trade. And this is my passion, my day job. I do this every day for a living. So I'm just truly thankful for all of my supporters and community members, etc., the whole nine yards. It's an amazing experience. So with that being said, check out my trading community when you get a chance. And I'm going to be rolling out with the Trading Academy month end as well. So just heads up on that. Hate to say I told you so. All right, so taking a look here at the one-day chart, we'll go ahead and work our way down. Actually, you know what? Let's go with 1 week first and just go ahead and do a full-on perspective. So 1 week chart telling us a little bit about the moving averages. Now, obviously, the 50-day SMA has been above the price action for a while. It's at about 48,000, 49,000 range. We don't need to worry about that for some time, but just note that that is notoriously a strong resistance. So we could effectively see some resilience when we come to that. If we have to bridge that gap, it'll probably be quite a few weeks, even months before we have to worry about that. Just so you know, that's where we're at. But bottom line is we're still considered bearish divergence on the 1 week chart. I think it kind of goes without saying, obviously, but we can see how the price bounced off of 50 on the RSI, couldn't quite pass that perspective when we had a push to the upside right around, if you recall correctly, right around 52,000. We had that strong resistance before the bottom dropped out. So that's kind of where we're at on the 1 week. No surprises there. Nothing much has changed. The 1 day's changed a little bit, and what I mean by that is we've seen this bearish divergence. Of course, still the RSI is coming back up, but it's still not there. We've got a MACD convergence, yes, that occurred in the last 24 hours, but that was kind of stunted out, so to speak, by the death cross, right? Which was fairly uneventful this time. Now, not to say it won't still happen, because the likelihood of or the whole point of the death cross is the fact that the 50 works as a resistance, pushing the price action down. It's kind of an interesting scenario in a lot of cases, but we didn't see as big of a decrease as we were expecting based on yesterday's bearish engulfing pattern, followed by a green candle here that could effectively turn things around. So again, we don't know exactly where we're at right now, but we didn't hit as low of a bottom as expected. It dropped down to about 41,800. And that's that was not quite low enough that we wanted, of course, to see a break to the downside if you were to short, which we did open a short position, by the way. However, if you look at the price action, you can see here that we've got the price is right around 43,200. So it's trending right above that tentative support / resistance level at about 43,000. So 43 is kind of a key level in some ways, but I would say 44,400 is more relevant in the sense that until we break that plane, we're not going to have a bullish convergence. So I'm not super worried about the price breaking that point right now, or the price kind of diverging too, right? It's kind of in this discovery period where it's trying to, there's a lot of testing and rejecting going on. Price comes up to resistance, breaks, and comes back down, tests the support, and kind of continues back upwards. So we could see a break to the upside potential this weekend, just based on the natural laws and the way that, traditionally speaking, you'll see crypto market increasing on the weekends and selling off on Mondays. That's a very natural, common occurrence, I guess you could say. Not to say it has to happen, but it oftentimes does, right? So, that sentiment in mind, we could very well see a green weekend. It could be fairly green, but what I want to kind of point across here is we're going to see a lot less volume, and in turn, until we pass 46,000, we really have no potential. I would say you don't want to consider this bullish at all, because this could very well be a dead cat that we're kind of anticipating, that we've seen time and time again. There's a lot of reasons why the bottom could drop out, but realistically, the charts aren't telling us that it's going to at this exact time. Okay. Again, the 1 day is kind of giving us some indecisive information. I would just kind of wait to see where the price action continues, because if we get the 50-day SMA to come down and kind of push the price down, which is a normal common characteristic, that would essentially cause the price to continue downwards. Of course, we're not there yet. We don't need to worry about that for some time, but that's the reason why a lot of us felt it was going to retrace, is the death cross, and oftentimes, at least last time, it decreased significantly. This time it's kind of a wash, I guess you could say. So again, there's interesting stuff going on in the market that's causing this, but regardless, let's go ahead and stick with the TA. So for now here, if you kind of go ahead and see, you can see the price is above the, the previous resistance slash current support about 4,300. Sorry, 43,000. And we can also see the 50-day SMA working its way down to 42,300. Okay, so we got a nice little extra support there on the midterm. Things are looking pretty good in that sense. The 4-hour chart's actually nice. We're also up over 50 on the RSI as well, which kind of reiterates the fact that we have that support level at 43,000. Okay, so the midterm is kind of telling us that we're having this slight shift in momentum from bearish to bullish. And that's a good sign in that sense, because if you don't have a strong midterm, then of course the macro isn't going to be impacted. Okay, we need to have consistency on the 4-hour chart for some time before we can see the the 1-day kind of reflect that. So this is all in all fairly decent. We've also got a potential MACD convergence in the 4-hour forming right now, so the price could effectively increase from here. Now, is it going to pass this plane of 44,000 / 44,400? That still remains to be seen. We've got these large candlesticks that came up and got rejected immediately once it tried to pass 44. So just bear that in mind. There's a lot of resistance there. And in fact, why don't we go ahead and just take this most recent time frame and kind of identify if there's any strong volume. And again, that volume is accumulated right there at that support we saw earlier today at about 41,900. So there is a good potential, so I guess you could say buy wall there. When the price comes down, everyone feels like that's a good value, right? 42,000 as a round number is essentially a good value. So again, just something to kind of bear in mind, right? Now, kind of looking at the 1 hour, let's see if there's any further information here. I'm willing to guess that we're almost to the, we're almost above the cloud. Now, we don't have any buy signals just yet. In fact, the cloud can notoriously work as a resistance. So bear in mind, this is disadvantageous for a long position. Okay. Now, if you're a gambling type, perhaps you might want to consider adding to your position based on the fact that it would inevitably increase, right? That's kind of the thought process behind most gamblers, right? But this isn't gambling, this is trading. And anytime you see a price come up to the cloud and get rejected at least almost 3 or 4 hours in a row, there's a good chance it's going to hold the price action down lower. So, that's positive in the sense of a bearish sentiment, but what's adverse, of course, if you're considering going long, is that resistance. What's nice, though, is we do actually have an actual lagging span that's free and clear of any price action, okay? But granted, if the price continues to go sideways, this will too, and it'll inevitably get stopped out. So for right now, we have 2 out of 3 indications that the price action could continue to progress upwards in the short term. Okay, and when I say short term, I'm talking about a couple of days here. There's a chance if we get the price to break above the cloud and stay above the cloud, those chances will increase, if you will, right? But again, we're seeing a lot of resistance right at this point, and this is not great in that sense, but it's also not terrible. We've kind of got a lot of, I guess I wouldn't say mixed feelings here, but it's not necessarily telling us one way or the other on the short term. So that's all well and good. But truth be told, we're at a 3 on TD sequential as well. So ultimately not a lot of, I guess you could say, information here telling us that we are going to break. Another thing I want to kind of point out here is, and this is on a very short term time frame. I think I saw it on the 1 minute. Is in fact, we do have this ascending type of wedge pattern that commonly breaks to the upside, but I would expect it to get tested here soon and possibly even rejected. Okay, so if we were just kind of draw some lines here, right, and kind of just say that 43,400 is the resistance. Again, this is a very short time frame. Okay, so this is only about 8 to 10 hours worth of trading data. In that time frame, the prices continued to increase. It jumped up, consolidated above the support, right, or above resistance rather, creating it as a support. And now with this continuation to the upside as well, if we don't get a breakout soon, we might see the price decrease. Okay, so traditionally speaking, you'll see that to break to the upside, but again, that's kind of a reach, if you will. I try not to put a lot of I don't like to invest a lot of my time and effort or hope, you could say, into scenarios like this, at least on a smaller time frame, because again, the larger time frames give us more accurate results. Okay, and if we don't see this type of shape or pattern on larger time frames, then it could be essentially just a kind of a hypothetical at this point, right? So what I think isn't hypothetical is the fact that we have 2 out of 3 indications on the 1 hour chart telling us on the Ichimoku cloud that we have potential breakout. But if again the price is getting rejected here, pretty much you can just draw this line out across the side here and see that the tentative resistance is 43,400. Not to mention we have a pretty strong resistance or sell wall up around 44,000 / 44,400. So those two things in combination, so to speak, are kind of leading me to believe that unless we can make higher highs and higher lows continuously over the weekend, we're going to see a continuation to the downside and see more bearish divergence. And what I mean by that here is you can obviously see, and this is again only the 1 hour chart, not super important, but we are seeing lower highs and effectively lower lows, right? Again, until we see the 4 hour chart kind of reflecting this similar behavior, I wouldn't say it's anything to worry about, but it is what it is, right? So long story short, I think that we should consider, of course, obviously the result here is traditionally to dollar cost average if you're comfortable with that. If this is the coin you want to invest in, of course, Bitcoin, or just know that if you're going to invest in other coins, that Bitcoin is effectively consolidating, so to speak. It's trying to break free and it's having trouble. So ultimately, dollar cost average is the best result there. But again, always keep money aside and understand that big picture, we are in a situation where you need to. There's just, I don't know. To me, there's more bearish than bullish signs, I would say, in the big picture. And that leads me to believe that we might see a further continuation of the downside here in the relative near future. Again, just a thought process, just thinking out loud. There's a reason why I opened a short position here recently with my community, and I do feel like we might see that happen. Because the bottom line here is we need to see a stronger base. In other words, we probably need to see at least a couple weeks worth of consolidation before we get to a strong break to the upside. Because with a low amount of volume, yields less results, and we're getting these false positives. Like a lot of times the market will do this where we have 2 or 3 strong green days. Everyone gets fully invested thinking we're back on track. And they're oftentimes low volume days, and that will cause the price to retrace inevitably. Because all they do is just got to sell a few positions. You know who we're talking about, right? And then the price just decreases, plummets, and everyone sells their position and freaks out. And they really shouldn't have done that in the first place. You got to hold strong sometimes if you want to commit to a certain trading style. But all I'm saying is that Bitcoin is in a position right now where we need a stronger base, more volume, you could say, below the current price point, because we got a pretty strong resistance sell wall between 46 and 47,000. And we could even round up and say 48,000. So in between 46 and 48, we've got a tremendous amount of volume, which is typically you would think would be a good sign, because a lot of people are wanting to get back to their original price point. But that's not true. It works as a resistance, and volume's always done that. And right now, until we get a stronger base, which we're still building, then we don't really have the opportunity to be able to say that the bottom won't drop out, right? Because there's a lot of room between 42,000 and 37,000 that literally has very little, if any, volume at all. Okay, so we lose support at 42. I can confidently say we're going to see a pretty strong drop. And we were expecting that to happen with the actual death cross, right? That was the whole thing. But then again, the Nasdaq and a lot of other things were doing very well in the overall sentiment, and a lot of, whether we like it or not, Bitcoin has aligned itself with a lot of the traditional stock market, specifically Nasdaq, and that has a tendency of making people think that we're out of the clear, when truth be told, that Bitcoin still has a lot of room for growth. Okay, so I know I've summarized this a few times already, but proceed with caution. Don't think that we're just totally free and clear just yet. We still need to see a stronger base of volume, in my personal opinion, before we see a strong increase. Until we break 46,000, we're still considered to be bearish on the macro, and that is, to me, ultimately the biggest thing you want to take away here. So feel free to add to your position and build a stronger base and foundation. That's what a lot of people are doing, and as we continue to do that, the more we get that, the better Bitcoin is going to be in the long run. But none of that really truly matters. The bottom drops out tomorrow. Now, will it drop out tomorrow? No. What I foresee happening is this weekend being fairly green. I would venture to guess we're going to see 44 or 45 this weekend. But I'm not super convinced that Monday comes around and we see a decent sell-off throughout the traditional week, based on the fact that we're still early in this phase, right? If you saw from before here, this continuation here, it took a while before we got some upward momentum. And of course, this happened, this bit of news drove the price down, right? So pending we don't get any news, we could effectively see the price action continue and then inevitably increase. But we probably need at least another week or two of foundation before we can see that. That's just my speculation. Anytime Bitcoin's ramped up back heavily is because it had a strong amount of volume as a base. We don't have that volume here. We need to add to that. Once we've added to that, we'll have a good solid foundation to increase on. All right. Anyways, I hope that kind of gets the point across. Hope you learned something here today, of course. Comment below if you did. If not, that's okay too. Consider joining my community, of course, if you haven't already. Thanks so much to my current community members, already 400 plus strong. It's going to be an awesome experience too when we get ready for the website next. Working very hard on that. Also the Trading Academy too. So thanks again to everyone as well. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. You have a great rest of your day. Take care.